This is KNWT, and you're watching Gentoo.
Oh, the wire got caught, no!
This is KNWT, and you're watching Gentoo. Hello everyone, and welcome back to your favorite show for all things gaming and rarely tech related, Gentoo. I'm Jonas Pila.
And I'm Gabe Chadwick. We're glad you're back for episode 2 of Gentoo. We have lots of stuff to get through, so let's get right into this week's gaming releases. Wildmender is a desert gardening survival game. Start from a tiny spring and cultivate a blooming garden. Explore a vast world amid the sands and uncover its mysteries. Can you defend against relentless forces of nature and mysterious race corruption? To bring life to a dying world. Wildmender releases on September 28th for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation consoles.
From the same lead gameplay designer of Limbo and Inside, Cocoon is a unique take on the puzzle adventure genre, where the world exists within an orb that you can carry on your back. Wrap your head around the core mechanics of the leaping worlds and combine, manipulate, and rearrange them to solve intricate puzzles. Mighty guardians protect every world, and you must face them in fierce battles. Are you up to the task? Cocoon releases on September 29th on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch.
Those were some pretty cool sounding games. I'll definitely be checking those out. So now let's see what is big in the broader gaming sphere. First, in the biggest Xbox leak in history, lawsuits, attempted acquisitions, gaming releases, and even the new Xbox console were all shown to the public.
A refreshed, digital-only Xbox Series X seems to be coming next year. Codenamed Brooklyn, this refreshed Series X will have double the internal storage at 2 terabytes, lower power usage, Wi-Fi 6E connectivity, and other tech upgrades, according to a leaked document. This model will have a cylindrical design compared with the boxy original Series X. A new controller is also leaked with better features as well, seemingly similar to its rival controller, the DualSense.
Xbox has also tried acquiring Nintendo. Nintendo was seen as a vital asset for Microsoft's gaming strategy, potentially offering the best path to consumer relevance.
And that's all we've got for gaming news today. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Let's see some stories from the Foxhole.
My squad arrived at Fort Windham just a couple days before the Great Northern Offensive was scheduled to kick off. We'd all heard that the Northern Front was going to be cold, but nothing could have prepared me for how cold it really was. There's a saying that became commonplace among the soldiers: the bullet doesn't kill you, the cold will. With the cold so bad they had even delayed the offensive, they were finally ready to kick it off. With no rest from our redeployment from Riven Downs, it was time to go. Before I even made it to the front line, I found a man bleeding out next to a foxhole. He was already cold when I got there, but everyone was cold. So I picked him up, put him on my shoulder like any good soldier would do, and I started looking for a medic.
Is there a medic anywhere?
Yeah, there you go.
I ran into a couple friendlies who told me there was some medics further back, so with that in mind, I kept pushing back along the line looking for a medic. And what I hoped would be this man's salvation. When I found a medic, he was still breathing, but it wasn't long before the cold and the blood loss got to him, and we couldn't save him.
Drop him. There we
Get
go.
home.
No!
Sure, I'd seen death, but something about this was different. It just changed me. He had just bled out right there in my arms. Standing there, the cold washed away, and I was just left alone. I knew he wouldn't be the last man I'd see die, but it still wouldn't prepare me for what I was going to see next. I took his gun, and I had one mission in mind: to make it to the front and avenge this man. I'd seen combat before, but nothing prepared me for what this offensive was going to be. I hit the front lines right as we were starting to push. Here, I'd see some of the most brutal combat of the war. Trench to trench, bayonet on bayonet, grenades being lobbed everywhere, bullets flying overheads, tanks rumbling by. It was nothing I was prepared for. I was still just a kid fresh out of the recruitment office. But I didn't have time to worry about that. There was one thought in every man's head on that front line, and that was push forwards, and that's what we did. We threw everything we had at them to push them back, and push them back we did. We lost a lot of men along the way, but it was one of the first big breakthroughs of the war. We'd been getting pushed back constantly, and here we were taking our first step forward. And we didn't stop there. The Colonials had a bunker base just up ahead, and we were going to push all the way up to that. There was no time for the wounded. We did what we could, but it was push, push, and push. Finally, we hit that bunker base. A solid wall of concrete, bristling with guns, mortars, howitzers, anti-tank cannons, and anything you can imagine. We crashed against it like a blue wave, but it wasn't enough. Sure, we had armor support, but we needed artillery to crack this nut open. Eventually, the order from High Command came down for us to just stop the offensive and dig in. We dug in right where we stopped, about 100 meters out. Collies were still taking pot shots and trading fire with us while we were digging in, but we were determined. Now, our job was to hold the line against any collie counterattack. This has been Stories from a Foxhole. Don't forget to tune in next week.
Here at Tower Yearbook, we are a dedicated staff of photographers, designers, copywriters, and practicum students.
Our staff is a student-led, student-run media outlet producing a book with over 300 pages. Be sure to pop out at any of our portrait or distribution events.
So stay tuned to our social media to see what's up.
Hey y'all, my name is Jason Holland, the host of Bearcat Update. In this week's episode, we're taking on Family Week in football, volleyball, and tennis, as well as watching me attempt to play on the tennis team. If that sounds interesting, make sure you check us out down below at KNWT TV.
I've always wanted to do? I've always wanted to travel through music.
You mean like an audio odyssey?
Welcome back to Audio Odyssey, a show where we dive into video game soundtracks and what makes them so great. This week, we're going to take a look at the Cuphead soundtrack. If you've never heard of Cuphead, the game is a classic run-and-gun action-adventure where you and your brother Mugman attempt to defeat all the bosses. Cuphead is another one of those games that really relies on its soundtrack. Cuphead just simply wouldn't be the same without its upbeat jazzy music. Like I mentioned before in the last episode, music is so important for video games, and I think Cuphead is another perfect example of this. The soundtrack of Cuphead really helps immerse you into a 1920s cartoon. Cuphead has to be one of my favorite games, and I think part of my love for this game stems from its great soundtrack. Cuphead and its soundtrack was released on September 29th, 2017. Cuphead was an immediate success due to the hard work put in by developers. The nearly 3-hour-long, 56-song soundtrack of jazz and big band ragtime music is a perfect example of some of this hard work put into the game. If you're not a major music nerd like me, you could probably play this whole game and only pay attention to the music a few times. But when you actually take a step back and listen to the music, you'll realize pretty fast how amazing and intricate the music of this game really is. Cuphead's soundtrack was composed by skilled composer and drummer Christopher Madigan. Before working on Cuphead, Madigan played with the National Ballet of Canada and even the Canadian Opera Company. But surprisingly, Cuphead was Madigan's debut. Madigan obviously was already a skilled musician before this, but he'd never worked on a project quite as ambitious as Cuphead. And I personally think he nailed it out of the park. Not only are Madigan's songs hard to play, but they would also be really hard to compose. Not only are most of these songs ragtime and constantly on and off beat, but the soundtrack is composed of so many different instruments. There's trumpet, trombone, alto sax, guitar, piano, organ, and so many more. I can't stress enough how difficult some of these songs would be to play and even compose. So, next time you load into Cuphead and you're fighting that boss that's making you want to throw your controller out a window, slow down, maybe don't throw your controller out the window, and take a minute and listen to the music. Just like the developers of the game, the musicians also put an incredible amount of time to make Cuphead really feel like Cuphead. So, like I said before, next time you load up the game, take a minute and stop and listen to the music. And that's it for the second episode of Audio Odyssey. I hope everyone had a good time watching, and I hope to see everybody here next week.
Hello, and welcome to your second meeting of Mental State, the show where we dive into the psychological side of classic video game characters. For this next session, we will be looking into the character of Boyd Cooper, a man with dissociative identity disorder. The two identities that we will be looking into are Boyd Cooper.
Huh? Who are you working for?
What? I'm with the Psychonauts.
The who? Oh, that doesn't fit in. That doesn't fit in at all. Maybe I've got this all wrong.
And the Milkman.
I am the milkman. My milk is delicious.
Boyd? Are you okay?
Time for the final delivery to this address.
Hey, is that milk regular kind? Or the exploding dream kind?
It's fortified with what the world wants. What the world deserves.
There are also spoilers ahead for Psychonauts. The character of Boyd Cooper is a gnarled one from the very start. When you find him, it becomes apparent that he's not all there. When you force your way into his mind, things only become weirder. You find yourself in a jigsaw neighborhood with investigators and Girl Scouts wandering the streets. During your exploration, the main question popping up between your character and the investigators is, where's the milkman?
Who is the milkman? Where is the milkman? Who is the milkman? What is the mission of the milkman?
The answer to this is soon revealed as you make your way to the Girl Scouts' hideout. Traveling to the basement, you find a holding cell with the milkman surrounded by bottles of milk. Who is the milkman, you ask? Well, it seems that the milkman is an arsonist. Just a full-on arsonist.
Special delivery today.
Dissociative identity disorder, previously known as multiple personality disorder, is one that has been shown in various ways in media. Most people can think of an example of DID when prompted, and most are highly theatrical and dramatized versions of what actually happens. The case of Boyd Cooper in Psychonauts is one that seems to be brushed off. The handling of his character seems to be more on the comedic side, which fits the theme of the game, but not so much the weight of the topic. Your character, Rasputin Aquato, forces himself into the mind of Boyd Cooper with the goal of bringing the milkman out to open a gate? It becomes clear through the dialogue in Boyd's mind that he does not wish to have the milkman freed, but this act is done so anyway. The game waves this off at the end, having the milkman identity fly out of his body.
The milkman has completed his route.
In this instance, I think that the presentation of this mental disorder does a terrible job at highlighting the problems associated with having DID. Thank you for coming into my office. I have once again been Dr. Snotterly. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you for our third session.
Dude, is it just me, or is it like really dark in here?
Dude, you're so dumb. You know, there's a show just for you. Dark and Dumber.
Hey, and welcome back to some Dark and Dumber. Now I know I left you guys off on not really seeing much of the dungeons, but don't worry, because today you'll be getting your fill of all the dungeon action. I'll be running solo in the Goblin Caves, so let's get right into it.
3, 2, 1, go!
The Goblin Caves can be especially rough, with any spawn being a couple steps away from death, especially since I'm stuck with just this base gear for now. As long as I keep my wits about me, the mob shouldn't really be a problem. It's the players. Like this rogue that tried to stab me in the back. Luckily I managed to block his attack, but now the chase is on. Fighting this dingy rogue sucks, but this room only has one way out, and it's through me. Keeping the bridge blocked off, he either has to come fight me or pass the goblins, and it would seem the goblins got to him first. Running from some goblins, I get attacked by another rogue. What a day. While I fight him off now, he came back for some vengeance, while I was against the Claire. He didn't last long though. Alas, I didn't make it out of the dungeon, for the Claire clapped me. Flying into our second run in hopes of better loot. While this run is pretty uneventful, we still cleared some goblins and made some profit. Most PvP I had was hearing a guy on the other side of a door.
Fart on my roommate's door, ha.
Most important though, we made it out. That's what we call profit.
Money! Money!
My third run is probably my most eventful, finding a friendly fighter and a suicidal rogue. Then betraying my new friend since he left me to die.
Good teamwork, good teamwork.
While I made a fat stack of loot from this run, one thing went wrong. I couldn't find a portal. So I died in the swarm and lost everything. That's what happens in the caves. Well, that's all the exploring we got this week. While we didn't make it out with many treasures, I lie to myself and say it's the adventure that matters and not the loot. Anyway, come back next week to get more educated on Dark and Dumber.
Welcome back, Gentoo fans. Brace yourself for a dose of the unexpected.
You heard right, folks. We're diving into a random dance-off challenge.
Hold on, Jonas. What's happening here?
I'm challenging you to a dance-off. Your turn.
That was completely unexpected and a ton of fun.
That's the Gentoo spirit, always keeping you guessing.
Don't change the channel, folks. More surprises await on Gentoo.
In a land born of conflict, with the line between divine and demonic are blurred. Five legendary heroes must save the day. Or not.
I don't know what it's called. I come from the marsh, so I don't know what it's called.
Come watch Sulphur and Saloons on Wednesday at noon.
Welcome back to Mustard's Madness. We have a couple great games for you this week, as in the time away I've grinded some of the regular season games, coming off the bench, and worked my way into the starting lineup. Since this was the first game in the starting lineup, from the jump I'm trying to impress my coach and be aggressive. This pick and pop doesn't go my way, so I drive to the defender's weak side and get fouled.
First team foul.
He's off on
number 13.
After a good defensive possession, I find myself wide open for 3 off the pick and pop. I played bad defense and allowed an easy score, so I try and make up for it by attacking Bridges downhill, drawing another foul. I can't capitalize and split free throws once again. I get subbed back in during the second quarter, and with active hands picking up at half court, get an easy steal. However, it leads to nothing on offense. This time down the court, I'm running the pick and roll with Fox, and it allows him to get an easy dunk off the roll. To start the second half, I'm able to wiggle past the defense on the fast break. Putting up an easy layup gets me an and one, with the free throw completing the play. With my team playing good defense, I leak down the court and get an easy backdoor pass for another layup. My takeover is activated, and I'm able to play the passing lanes. With the steal gets me an easy assist to Harrison Barnes. Every bucket matters here in the close game, so I play good transition offense and find my teammate for another easy assist. Passing out of the double team gives me a chance to drive on Curry, where we try a new move with a spinning fadeaway.
The 6-footer, count it.
This is the reason I chose the lockdown defender takeover. With Curry getting by me, I'm able to recover and block it, and my teammate gets another block, and I get a steal to end the third quarter with some great defense. I finally get subbed back in with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Close game where every possession matters, and I blow it on the first play of defense. I try and make it up with a 3 on the other end, and it's good, a big 3 to put us up by 3. After a bad possession by us, I try and challenge KNWT at the rim and get dunked on. Our bread and butter play gets me open again. With a hand in the face, I pull it anyway and hit it. They play the foul game, sending me to the line where I again split free throws, allowing them to stay in the game. I help on defense, which allows my man to get a putback, bringing them back within 1 possession. They get a steal and an easy basket to make it only a 1-point game. I get fouled and finally make both free throws, extending it to at least 3 points. And with the final buzzer sounding, they get a missed 3 and we finally win the game. That was a crazy start to my first game in the starting lineup. We'll be back next week with an even crazier game.
Dude, this guy was making fun of me online.
Looks like you got cyberpunked.
Welcome back to Cyberpunk, unless you didn't see the first episode, but if you did see our last segment, you would have seen my spicy hot take about how this game is shunned for all the wrong reasons.
Little something called intuition, V. Ever heard of it?
Cyberpunk 2077 promised a futuristic, dystopian world filled with crime, Keanu, and a gripping narrative. While the game certainly delivered on those fronts, and missed a couple others, there's one that has resonated within the hearts of its fans. Its narrative. One of the most soul-crushing experiences I've had in any form of media. And today, that's what we're diving into.
Told you I'd end you someday.
What is Cyberpunk 2077 about? Why do people love this game's story so much? Simply put, this game makes you feel, and then it makes you hurt. This game is a modern-day Shakespearean tragedy in the form of a video game. You play as V, one of the many paid mercenaries in the most crime-ridden city of future America, Night City. After a heist goes completely south, and V is infected with a chip that is slowly turning their brain into that of an ex-anarchist, it is up to the player on if they can save V in time and banish Johnny to the void of cyberspace forever, or let Johnny take a second chance at life in a new body.
V, you don't know how much I want that to be true.
The story is all about confronting the suffering and tragedy the citizens of Night City endure on the daily. V included, who is dying from the fault of a corrupt corporation's morally questionable technology. Remember when I said this game hurt?
I'm sorry, did she finally say anything useful?
The idea of shattered dreams and betrayal are everywhere in this game. At the very start, V is at the top of their career, getting jobs left, right, and center. All it took was one bad job and a genuine mistake. Now almost every single choice the player is forced to make can end in heartbreak, or even some of the most morally compromising moments for V to go through. The game's branching narrative encourages players to make difficult decisions that can lead to devastating consequences for those involved. This is just the very surface of the intense and very real subjects this game loves to poke at. The game has many different endings to receive according to the player's actions previously in the story, but even the quote-unquote most hopeful is still tainted by sadness.
with the endings being the only time we see a good view of V from a third-person perspective. It can either be heartwarming and rewarding to see this character we have suffered with finally be hopeful, or it can rip your heart out of your chest and force you to hopelessly watch as V's world unravels around them. But if you've suddenly grown attached to this character just as much as I have, Cyberpunk 2077's Phantom Liberty DLC plans to add a completely new alternative end for V and Johnny. Yes, this game will essentially be re-releasing with Phantom Liberty. And next week, we'll be taking a closer look at what to expect with Phantom Liberty in this DLC. This has been Zach Greiner on Cyberpunk, signing off.
Hello and welcome back to I'm Not a Loser, where I show you how to be as good at video games as I am. When it comes to games of any kind, I'm just a natural. But today we're playing what I believe is the biggest cakewalk in gaming history, Celeste. When it comes to 2D platformers, I'm like a ninja. In Celeste, you have to climb up a massive mountain, and much like real life, the most important thing about climbing is precision. In Celeste, you need to know where you're going and how you're going to get on stable ground. Now for me, I just have a talent for this kind of precision. I'm like a sniper, looking for the perfect spot to land. Okay, what? The hardest part of Celeste is knowing how to land on a specific object and estimate how to do that, which I don't know if you noticed, but I'm kind of a master at. But this all comes down to practicing jumps and learning how to space everything out. The way to learn this is by experimentation. While I never experiment because, let's be real, I'm always correct, it is an important aspect of the game. Celeste, to its credit, allows the player to test what works and what doesn't work, to come up with their own solution to a problem. So when getting to a certain part of the game, don't look at problems as if they have one solution, even though my solutions are always the correct ones. Finally, the most important tip for Celeste is to pay attention to the story and the character's motivations within it. I always pay attention to the story and never skip dialogue. I don't care. This game is driven by its story, unlike other games, and even though I don't get surprised or confused by stories very often, I know some people do, so don't be ashamed to admit it. Wait, so the purple girl is not my sister? I thought she was. Wait, is she just like evil me? Okay, that's kind of stupid. The joy of the game isn't the destination, but instead the people and the mishaps we have along the way to reach that final summit. Even though I never have mishaps in anything I do, it is rewarding to see the main character overcome them. With these strategies and tips, your journey to the peak should be much less of a daunting task. Always remember, dying is part of the process, and even though I never fail ever, it is important to show that no matter what, keep climbing and reach that peak. Hey there, Gentoo fans. Thanks for hanging out with us for another episode of Randomness.
You know, Gabe, I had so much fun today. I think I just leveled up in the laughter department.
Jonas, you're always keeping us laughing. Speaking of laughter, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and ring that notification bell.
Spread the Gentoo cheer far and wide. Tell your friends, your family, and even your pet parrot.
Join us again next Tuesday at 6 p.m. for more surprises, goofy moments, and endless laughs.
Keep the Gentoo spirit alive, and remember, life's better when it's Gentoo-tastic.
How do you not know what a cicada sounds like? What does it sound like that?
Is this too much?